Today we're in the town of Madone. It's the last town in France before the Italian border, and we're right at the bottom of the Col de la Madone. This is a famous climb from all the pros that have lived in Menton and Monaco who test on it. Famously, Lance Armstrong apparently did 500 watts up here.
How many kilometers is Madone?
It's about 30 minutes.
What did you average for 30 minutes in 99?
500 watts.
Today we're going to be going for the segment from Gorbio, which is a little bit different than the historical segment that people have talked about, like Chris Froome in his book, when they did around 30 minutes. But today I'm aiming to PR on my time from 2022. So I'm aiming to go around 26 minutes if I can. My PR is around 27:40, hoping to average around 410, 420 watts. Just past the supermarket, which I think is where historically a lot of the guys have timed themselves from, starting right here. So we came out of Menton and then we're coming up the D22 road, and we're apparently 13 kilometers from the col. It's a bit of a weird climb here at the bottom. It's like a residential area and you go under a highway, but the verified segment on Strava is the one that starts from the Gorbio intersection, and that's the one I did in 2022. So that's what we're going to be going for today, but obviously there are lots of different segments and ways you can time this climb. I just had a rest week after the last video you saw where I did 30 hours. I want to set a baseline benchmark here on Madone, and then going to do a VO2 block for 3 weeks, and we'll see how the form is coming around and do another test. So this is more of a baseline effort, but I still want to perform well if I can. But the expectations aren't super high. Even to get into the top 10 on this climb is really difficult. This is probably the most famous climb that's never been raced in Grand Tour. Fun fact, the Trek bike, the Madone, is named after this climb because of obviously Lance Armstrong's affiliation with Trek. Yeah, all of their bikes are just the letters of Madone, but in different orders. So you got the Amanda and the Domaine and the Madone. I'm gonna start my warm up now, and the rest of this video will be from the 360 camera on my handlebars. This is the last bit of the climb before the segment starts. It's this intersection right up here. For my warm-up, I did 3 minutes, building to just over the power that I wanted to do for the effort. That's the opening effort done. Legs felt okay. Heart rate responded, maybe not quite as quickly as I'd have hoped. It's a little bit windy, unfortunately, from the wrong direction. So definitely not the fastest possible conditions, but I think decent enough for a baseline. All right, I'm rolling down this hill, and then the effort starts at the intersection at the bottom. Go, go, go. Go, go, go. It's a bit cheeky to start the segment that way with the downhill, but does give you a few seconds for sure. Paul was there in the intersection to make sure there wasn't a car coming for me, and then he was trying to hang on as long as he could. All right, good effort. A minute and 16 in. I'm 7 seconds up on my PR, slightly down on Pogi, but we're not trying to match Pogi here. Holding 4:12 average so far. Gonna bring that up a little bit. Won't be able to talk too much more. After the last video you saw on my channel where I did the really big 30-hour week, I had intended to do a couple more build weeks of high volume after that, but the week after a few days, started feeling the fatigue setting in pretty well, so I decided to move up my rest week. Tunes activating. That's how I ended up deciding to do this effort, because after the rest week I'll be fresh, so it's good to set a baseline. And then now I'm planning to, after this effort, do 3 weeks of a VO2 block. 5 minutes in, averaging 4:18, 13 seconds up on my PR. The wind is really bad. So as I said in the intro, my goal for today was 410 to 420 watts. And I thought that was a pretty reasonable expectation based on how I'd felt.
recently. And for this first section, I was averaging over 410 and feeling okay, but definitely not quite as good as I had hoped. I only brought one bottle with me to do this ride because I wanted to save a little bit on weight, but I think that ended up biting me because it took a little bit longer than we thought to get to the bottom of the climb and film the intro. This sign on the right is telling you to smile for the automatic camera that'll upload your photo. It's a pretty neat program set up by the department that I've never seen anywhere else. This climb basically gets more remote the further away you get from the coast. So you start in Madone and then work your way up here, and as you can see now we're already into a pretty secluded area. But that's kind of the reason that there's not like a really well-defined starting point from the climb, because it really starts from the coast, but it's not great to try to do an effort through some of those busy streets at the bottom.
It's not good, I feel hungry. 23 seconds up. Don't feel very good.
It was definitely starting to bite at this point in the effort. You can see this town on the right here is Saint-Onez, and this really marks kind of like the delineation point between the first and the second half of the climb, because we get up to this town and make a pretty sharp 180-degree turn, and then it's quite a different vibe from there. You're definitely completely out of the residential areas and into the area with the cool views of the canyon. Earlier I said that the Col de la Madone has never been raced in a Grand Tour, but it has been raced in the Tour des Alpes-Maritimes, which is a lower level stage race around this area. And there's a lot of times from the 2021 edition when they came up here. Those times are kind of filling out the top 10. So not only do you have the fast tax-avoiding Monaco pros that are setting times up here, but also those times are pretty quick because it's such a flat road that it would be an enormous help from drafting on this climb. If the Tour de France ever came up here, I think those times would be unbeatable.
24 seconds up. 15 minutes in.
Poggi and Richie Porte in the top two have times that are pretty much like a level above anyone else though. The fastest time that I could probably aim for is third with Egan Bernal. That's around 25 minutes, so a little over a minute off of Poggi's time. That shows you just what a crazy level Poggi has, and there's a rumor that he's actually done an even faster time that's just not on Strava, but who knows. Here we're coming up to the only flat section of the climb, which is kind of here after you turn this corner with cool views of the coast. You get to a little plateau through these tunnels. My power definitely intentionally came down a little bit here, but also I was feeling, pretty rough. So there I just shifted into the big ring. This is definitely the most scenic section of the climb with these tunnels and the views of the valley off to the left. But the road is pretty rough and super narrow from this point on. But luckily there's not usually much traffic up here. My PR from 2022 is from the first time I ever came to Nice and really discovered this area. And I wasn't in the best shape of my life at that point, and also working full-time on California hours while being in Europe, so it was a little bit rough, but I got out for some good efforts, including this one. On that day, I definitely faded a lot towards the end, so you can see we're only 38 seconds up on my PR at this point, 2 minutes plus down on Poggi, but I start taking a lot of time on my PR from here because I was able to at least hold power, and that hut you just saw on the left is one of the best visual indicators of being close to the end. This section does tend to kind of all look the same and drag on for a while, so that helps a lot to have that visual indicator. And you'll see there's some other cyclists here. This is probably one of the most popular roads to ride in this area other than Col d'Ez and the La Turbie area. You'll see pros on here pretty often, as well as lots of amateurs, because it's so famous and easily accessible. Those guys even gave me a little cheer, which is nice. This is the final push to the line here, so I was giving it everything, and the heart rate came up to 174, which is pretty much my max for this length of effort, although with warmer conditions I could definitely see a little bit higher. It was pretty cold today. I think the Garmin averaged like 9 degrees. Could go definitely a little bit faster later in the year with some warmer conditions, but this climb's steep enough that it doesn't make quite as big of a difference, but still Poggi's averaging like 25k an hour. This is the top. There's a cool little statue and a nice view of the snow caps up here.
Oh, 26:34. Felt pretty terrible, but still a PR. Only averaged like 409. Got my fueling wrong for this. It's not good to feel hungry from the start of the effort. I didn't bring enough sugar. Oh. I hope to feel a little bit better, but still PR'd by over a minute, so I can't be too unhappy with the effort. Gives me a lot of room to improve over the next month, come back, and I think we can get into the top 10. I think sub 26 minutes is definitely possible. I mean, yeah, it's definitely possible. I mean, 26:34 today. I could for sure go like 30 seconds to a minute faster than that. Yeah, excited to hit this VO2 block and see what kind of gains I can make. I was doing better power than that for that duration before I went to the US in December. So yeah, lots of room to improve. Happy with the baseline, but excited to see what I can do. Look at this stunning clouds and sun and the sun rays coming up. Hopefully you guys got to see some of it. Paul will be somewhere down there still climbing, but we'll go find him. And then we'll go to La Turbie and find the boulangerie, get some pastries to recover. No, I don't know, but it was 26:34. It's outside the top 10, but because top 10 you have to go under 26, just under.
I believe that snow cap is Isola 2000, but don't quote me on that. This descent is pretty nice. We get more of these rock tunnels. This backside of the climb is actually probably one I do more often than the main Col de la Madone, because it connects really nicely here to this road, which goes to La Turbie, a town just above Monaco that you end up riding through a lot here, and where we're going for pastries.
Oh, I'm getting like 3 or 4. I'm like so bonked, it's crazy. Everything is like monochrome. Right, so we'll go up here and then